Alright, good afternoon. It is May 31st, 2017. 2:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just want to make a quick, short video to document my own research concerning the relationship between oil and gas extraction, hydraulic fracturing, and wastewater pumping operations, and how they relate to earthquakes, particularly in the Midwest region of the United States, this area right here. This whole area in here is also known as the New Madrid seismic area, or the New Madrid fault. It's just the interior of the North American plate, but right in the center of it is the New Madrid fault. That runs from up here in Yellowstone-ish area, Northwest Territory, down through parts of Texas, and then it kind of zigzags back and forth through here, and then winds its way out to the east coast and up out into the mid-Atlantic ridge. But again, I just want to document anytime I see a significant earthquake, and by significant I mean magnitude of, higher than a 3.0. The reason for that is that a 3.0 is an earthquake that most likely somebody felt it. Once you get up into 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 and greater, these are earthquakes that actually cause some damage. Maybe not a lot of damage, but there's always a potential for a larger earthquake in this area because seismic pressure moves from the west part over in here across the North American continent and usually expends itself out here at the mid-Atlantic ridge out in here. The problem is there's all this oil and gas extraction, hydraulic fracturing, and wastewater pumping operations going on in here that have they've drilled thousands and thousands of holes down into the Earth's crust and created a weak spot. I mean, the area is literally littered with hydraulic fracturing, wastewater pumping operations, gas and oil extraction. So earlier today there was a 3.8 earthquake in 19 kilometers west of Perry, Oklahoma. Several people felt it apparently, or this wouldn't be there. But if we take a look at it, the detailed information on this. Let's give my computer's running a little slow today because I'm running Google Earth in the background. If you come over, if you click on that earthquake, it'll take you over here to all the scientific information, the particular details, moment sensor, shake map, things like that. But I click on this over here, origins, and I click on magnitudes, and it's going to show some of the seismic reporting stations that they derive that number at, and you can see just at a quick glance it's more likely it was a 4.0 earthquake. I mean, 4.0, 4.1, 3.8, average them together, it's a 4.0 earthquake. But that's not the point. The point is what is in the proximity of these earthquakes, particularly in Colorado, Oklahoma, northern Texas, Tennessee, Kansas, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, you name it. What's in proximity to these earthquakes that are above 2.5 is what the important part is. So what you do is you just click on it. This little window pops up and it gives you a little bit of information on it. And again, if you click on the link, you can get more details. But all I need is this right here. This is the location, the exact coordinates. So what I'm going to do is copy that, and I suggest you download Google Earth. Drop the coordinates down into here. Click search, and it's going to zoom right over there to that earthquake and bring us right down on it. It's going to drop it down pretty close, but once you get there, all you have to do is let it come into focus and then zoom back out. And when I'm doing my research for the relationship between oil, fracking, hydraulic wastewater pumping, gas and oil extraction, I look usually within 6 to 10 miles of the epicenter of the earthquake. So here's our earthquake, is this yellow pin. Up here is a little ruler. I have it set to miles, and I'll move this out of the way. So you just click here, and then you can draw a line, and you want to look about 6 to 10 miles out. So we look in this radius right about in here. anywhere in this region, 6 to 10 miles. But for instance, we can start our search. And I'm doing this live. This is one take, so who knows? I could make a fool out of myself, but I don't think so. We'll see what's down here. Just zoom in, take a look. At first glance, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, you might think these are just houses or, you know, farms or buildings or clear cutting of trees. So that's why I use Google Earth. It's because I can go down and see the satellite imagery. The tree is from 2015.
So you look down here, you can see how old this is. So things could have changed since 2015. But as far as the last couple of years, this is the imagery that's available. And so if you just zoom down on any one of these, well, you're going to see these little pads right here. And if you know anything about gas and oil extraction, hydraulic wastewater pumping operations, you know that the telltale sign are these pads, and then located on the pads are these storage tanks right here, and then out in the center where they've pumped the hydraulic fluid down into the earth. There's another one here. We'll zoom down there. There's the tanks right there. It's not great imagery. It's a couple of years old. Sometimes I get lucky and get some really great imagery, but it looks like this is kind of fairly old, a couple of years. We'll zoom down on a couple of them and take a look at them. And so here's a perfect example. You may not be able to tell right straight off, but that is where the sun is shining on this equipment right here, and you can almost make out the image is an oil pump right there. Could be oil, could be gas, but either way, there's a pump right there. Most people think they're just all oil pumps. Some of them are gas pumps as well. Look at a couple of other things going on here. Once again, there's your tanks, storage tanks right here, and there's your pump running sideways as the sun is shining on it and producing that shadow right there. So, just as I expected, within 6 to 10 miles of a 4.0 earthquake in Oklahoma, about 19 kilometers west of Perry, Oklahoma, fracking operations. So, once again, 6 to 10 miles. Sometimes right where the epicenter of the earthquake is, you'll find the hydraulic fracturing wastewater pumping operation. And so if you look right here, it's just a few hundred yards away, less than a half a mile. Come on. Google Earth runs and takes a lot of memory on my computer, and it slows down. Sometimes it'll even crash. So once again, this is a wastewater pumping operation right here, gas and oil extraction. So we're going to leave Google Earth for a second. We'll take a look at one of the other earthquakes. This is a 3.4. It's a pretty good size earthquake, not too far away. We'll take a coordinates right here, drop them into Google Earth up here, and hit search, and we'll fly over to there. Looks like it's probably about 100 miles away, maybe less. So here's a 3.4, 3.5 earthquake right here in Oklahoma. We'll zoom back out, and we're going to look again, 6 to 10 miles, sometimes less. Come on. Shoot, 2 miles. We don't even have to go 6 miles on this one. Within 2 miles. So again, I'm estimating 2 miles, but we can zoom out and we'll go to 6 and see what's there. Anywhere within 6 to 10 miles down here. See how far this one is. There's 10 miles. We'll go down here and take a look and see what's there. Close this. That line's just to give me an idea of how far 10 miles is. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're zoomed out. But anyway, so right down in here I already see the signature. And that is these square pads all along in here. So within 10 miles of that 3.5 earthquake, totally separate. Zoom down in, and there's our storage tanks, square pad out in the center. They've most likely already completed pumping everything out of the ground that they can here, and so now they just use it to pump the wastewater down, and they store it under the earth. The problem is, though, like I said, it's the intensity and the frequency of these holes going down into the earth that they're literally turning the whole New Madrid seismic region into a giant piece of Swiss cheese. It's a weak spot. It's perforating the crust of the earth in an area that seismic pressure transfers through. So what happens is it looks for the path of least resistance and expends itself there. And so because there are so many thousands of these oil and gas extraction, wastewater pumping operations going on in the Midwest, is they've weakened the crust in this area here in the center of the United States, and so the seismic pressure moving across the North American continent doesn't just push straight out to the mid-Atlantic. It makes a pit stop right here and releases, similar to the way volcanoes act as a pressure relief valve. Down here in Mexico you've got several volcanoes, and so we've been having a lot of earthquake activity, but the volcanoes act as a pressure relief valve. See if we can find some of these. There's Mexico City here. So right here, I didn't intend to do this, but Nevado de Toluca. Take a look at it. We'll zoom down and do a little tour. So it's going to zoom us around and take us a look at the topography. So this is an old volcano right here in the middle of Mexico, just outside of Mexico City. You can see where that volcano, however many thousand years ago, blew its top right here and went out this way. So this is all old lava flow right there. But anyway, my point was that when you have seismic pressure moving into the interior of a plate, a lot of times that pressure will find the path of least resistance and expend itself at a volcano. This is another one. This is Volcano Colima. We'll take a look at that one real quick, just for fun. Once again, it's going to show the topography. This is actually an active volcano. This imagery is from last month. There's Colima off in the distance. You can clearly see the cone right there. Colima is actually active as well. But back to the point that I was making is, as the pressure is moving along the plate, it will find the path of least resistance, and in this case it just happens to be a volcano. So up here to the north, since they've created this weak spot here by puncturing the crust of the earth with thousands and thousands of oil and gas wells all up in here, what's happened is they've kind of produced artificial volcano where that pressure coming across the plate can expend itself, and it comes up through those little teeny tiny holes. It works its way towards the surface, and you have an earthquake, especially because this is also a major fault line. It's kind of fairly new to most people. New Madrid fault, a lot of people have never heard of it, but I suspect that you'll start hearing about it more and more as time goes by. Research is done on it. Incidentally, there is a couple of places you can go to look. Some people like to use this. This is the global incident map. I don't find it to be extremely accurate. Usually I'm using the USGS and the EMSC, which is the European version essentially of the USGS. For the Northwest Territory of the United States, I generally use the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, and mostly because I'm watching this slow slip event that's going over here in the Cascadia subduction region right in here. It's about 600 miles from Vancouver Island to Northern California. Right down in here there's a slow slip event that's been taking place. They can last months, sometimes weeks, but sometimes months, where two plates are moving alongside of each other. But what happens is those plates become stuck after a while as pressure continues to build while it's moving, running alongside of each other, and they become stuck. When that happens, you'll see these tremors, which is what they are. They're just microquakes. Right here I'm looking at the microquakes or tremors from the 26th. So, but as you go forward, you can see movement all up and down in this 600-mile area where these two plates are rubbing alongside of each other. Down in here is San Andreas. That's different. It's related, but it's different. So there's the 28th, and then so far today I don't think they're showing anything. So here's the thing. Go back, you can watch this pressure move. It jumps back and forth, back and forth. It'll go quiet for a few days. I'm going all the way back now. So you can see where the pressure jumps back and forth right in this region here as these two plates are moving, and then they release, and then they move, and then they release. It gets stuck for a couple of days, and then it continues. So it seems to me, again, this is the 22nd, and coming forward to the 23rd, nothing on the 24th, nothing on the 25th, then 26th right here begins to move again. 27th, still moving. Seems like it's quieted down up here in Vancouver Island. Most of the pressure is down here to the south, but you'll see it begin to transfer up north or migrate north until the 29th, and then the 30th it's migrating north again. And then today we don't have anything as of yet. So the point is, this is still moving. The slow slip event is still happening. When it stops for a good solid 2, 3, 4 days, that's when you want to look for a major earthquake here, because what that means is the plates have become locked or stuck. And once seismic pressure, normal seismic pressure, comes down in through here into this area, it's likely to unlock it, and that's when you'll have a large 6 to 7.0 earthquake. Normally we see 4s and 5s here. In fact, we should be getting a 4 and 5 here anytime right in this area over the next few days. Could happen today, but that's not the one we're looking for from this issue. The one we're looking for from this slow slip event is more likely to be a 7 or even an 8.0 earthquake. And when that happens, if it happens onshore, bad news. The buildings in these areas are not prepared for a large earthquake. If it happens offshore, could potentially be bad news because it can create a tsunami, and there's a lot of people living right along the shores and up in here. Only good news is that the elevation is high, and so even if there was a 60-foot wave, the coastal regions might get some damage, but the elevation is high enough that people could find safety up in the mountains as long as they know it's coming. But they need the earthquake to happen first before that happens, and so the precursor to this earthquake happens is when the slow slip event that's happening here stops for 3, 4, 5 days. That's when you want to expect a larger earthquake. But nonetheless, as I said, we're still expecting a 4.5 to 5.0, maybe even a little higher earthquake here, simply from all of the seismic pressure that's been transferring along the plate boundaries from over here. So that pressure starts here, Fiji Tonga region, and it transfers along the plate boundaries up into here and then back down into here. So it also transfers across the plate from here to here, from here to here. So South America up in this region right in here, southern Colombia, northern Ecuador, Peru, right in here should be expecting some seismic activity over the next few days. Incidentally, there was a pretty good size earthquake over here in Mexico that I had mentioned. That pressure will transfer out here into the Caribbean and then sometimes down here into Venezuela. But most likely it'll transfer through the Caribbean along the plate boundary out here into Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Haiti, Cuba, Dominican Republic, and in this region up in here. So silent areas to watch are right here. Japan, the Kuril Islands right in here. Papua New Guinea, still looking for an earthquake here. We should see some kind of movement up in here probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. I'm looking for at least a 5.0 earthquake right here at Papua New Guinea. It's been quiet for way too long. Generally between the 2 points of the earthquake is where the big action happens. So that's all I wanted to do today, was take a look at these earthquakes over here in Oklahoma, zoom down in on them so that you could see for yourself. There are hydraulic pumping operations, wastewater pumping operations, gas and oil extraction, fracking going on right there where all these earthquakes are happening. So keep your eyes out, have a plan, be safe. If you want to, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got 164,000 views, but for some reason I only have 767 subscribers. It's not a big deal. I only started doing this because it was an easy way to document my own research and drop it here and share it. But if you feel inclined, I hope you'll share the video. Please give it a thumbs up. My YouTube channel is not monetized. For whatever it's worth, shout out to my girls, the Resistance Chicks. They talk about a lot of political things. Take a look at their stuff real quick just to make mention of them because I think they're really cool. The Resistance Chicks, here they are right here. And from what I heard, they are receiving some, oh, looks like their channel's back. Their channel was shut down earlier, so I would invite you to come over here to the Resistance Chicks and check them out. Get about 1,000 subscribers. They're two sisters in Ohio that I think are really awesome and cool. They talk a lot about Trump and what's going on over in Europe, and they're just a good channel, good information, great content. I appreciate what they do, so I thought I'd give them a little shout out. But anyway, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, share it, do your own research. If you want to know more about earthquakes, you're welcome to come over here to my Facebook channel or my Facebook page and reach out to me there. And once again, my Facebook page is blowing up today because I mentioned Afghanistan. If I could drop a video on earthquakes in Oklahoma, nobody cares, but whenever I mention the Middle East, people start lighting up my page. So if you want to, you can reach out to me. If you have some questions or whatever, reach out to me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and share it with your friends. I hope you have a great week.